Got another spring cleanup find. This time it's a Pioneer Laserdisc player. This is a CLDD502, and this one is totally dead. And no, I didn't find this one stuffed with cash, but it did have a prize stuck inside. Let's check it out. So here's another dusty old piece of equipment that I picked up on spring cleanup. This is a Laserdisc. It's dead. No power. Nothing. So let's open this one up and see whether this one is savable. I'll be adding this to my collection of Laserdisc players if I can get it to work, because I don't think it's going to be worth much to try and sell. I don't think too many people want Laserdisc players these days. I do have a few discs though, so it's always nice to have a working player. I know my Panasonic one works. I haven't tried my other. I've got a couple of Pioneer players myself. One that will play DVDs as well as Laserdiscs. For that matter, I don't even know if they work because I haven't used it. I haven't used my Laserdisc player in quite a while. It's been probably a year since I turned it on. Okay. Well, this one's got a disc in it, whatever it is. Got a disc in it. First things first, let's remove the disc. This is one of these players that plays both sides of the disc too. Laser will flip around and turn up and go on the top side to play the top side. I don't even know how to get the disc out of this bloody thing. I'm sure that this lever has something to do with it, but I'm looking for something to turn that I can turn to take the disc out, and I don't even see where the stupid loading motor is on this. This one might not get repaired, but we'll see. We'll see why it's dead. Power supply is back here. Obviously that's the place to start, is the power supply. Fuse is not blown. Power supply is down here. You guys couldn't see that, I know, but this is the power supply down here. And to say the fuse is not blown. But I have no idea at this point even how to get this stupid disc out of this thing. What is it? I can't even see what title it is. But first things first, what do I got to turn? Man. Of course, if I pull the front panel off, I could probably lift the disc out. Maybe we'll do that. We'll pull the front panel off and see what's under here, because there's got to be a loading motor in here somewhere. Okay, that'll come off. And I don't think there's any screws on the bottom. It's a rust on here. This should lift off. Looks like it just tilts off. It looks like it. Okay, that comes off like that. Now, is there something I can turn down here? I think there's a gear I can turn. If I can turn the loading motor, you'll see this mechanism dropping down. And will that release it? Or though that's chucking the disc. Going the wrong way. I gotta turn it the other way. If I take out these this ground screw, I can probably lift this whole front panel off, or at least tilt it out of the way. Alright, now let me just pull this forward. I'll let this front piece hang off the bench. And now I can get at the gear here to raise the disc up and open it up. The disc is raising. Now this little catch here opens up the front panel, and now the disc comes out. Okay. Laserdisc. What do we got here? We have a disc called The Light of the Spirit by Kitaro. And I know who Kitaro is. He's a Japanese, it's like a Japanese musician. I wonder if it's a concert that's on here. Called The Light of the Spirit. And there was an album called The Light of the Spirit. Cool. Okay, it's a single-sided disc. Well, I got the disc out, so I'm going to go try this disc and see what's on it. And we'll see if we can get this thing to run. But I want to go see what's on this disc, so I'll be back. Or maybe I won't. Yeah, I'll be back. I was going to try this out in my other player. I want to see what's on this disc. Well, I was totally wrong. I was fully expecting that to be a concert from Kitaro of him playing, but it wasn't. It was actually a music video. I've got that CD, Light of the Spirit, from, I guess it goes back to about 86 or 87, somewhere in there. And this basically was music that was put, or visuals that were put to the CD. All scenery in Japan. Very well done, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that one. Anyway, back to this unit here. Let's see if we can figure out why this unit is completely, totally dead. So, be nice if I could get this thing to turn on. I noticed that there's a big 1 farad supercapacitor over here as well, but I don't know that that's going to have any effect on the unit not starting. First things first, we got to see if the power supply is running. So let's apply power and see whether there's anything happening down here. I see nothing. No voltage. So we definitely have a power supply issue on this one. But there's my 120 volt on my primary side, and I've got nothing on the diodes over here for secondary. So you see 0. So obviously the inverter is not working. Could be this little capacitor down here. This is one that typically starts this up. Could be the regulator IC too. It's one of the two. That's more than likely at fault, because if this was oscillating, we would have voltage. You know, even if the caps were bad on the secondary side here, we would have some voltage here, but we've got nothing. We've got nothing right on the diodes themselves, and I would expect to see voltage on them if the oscillator was running. So we have a problem on the primary side on this one. Now, how do I go about getting that power supply board out of this unit? That could be a challenge all in itself because of the way it's mounted. It looks like I'm going to have to undo a couple plugs, and there's a bracket that's in the way here. I don't want to take this whole mechanism apart because this is a critical alignment. So I'm going to try and get the power supply out by removing the screws and just taking the power supply out. I guess I'll have to disconnect the incoming power. I'll have to disconnect these lugs here. Cut that zap tie out of the way. and unsolder this. And then if I take out the 3 screws, I'm hoping there's going to be enough slack that I can slide the board kind of up like this and get it out of here. I don't know. Again, I've never worked on one of these units before. I know I recently had someone asking me what to do to take they thought I could answer an email on how to take a Laserdisc player apart. And it's like, are you kidding? First, I don't even know how to take one apart, never mind to try to walk you through the process. But there's another screw that's down here in the middle of the board. I don't know if I'll be able to reach that one. Can I get through here to get to it? There's a screw down here as well. And I don't know how I'm going to get to that, because even if I take this off, there's another metal plate below here. Can I get to it through here? Might be able to get down through here to this part on this board. I don't know whether they're now they appear to be going into a plastic base below it, whether that comes out with it or not, but these screws are real tight. And they are screwed down into the metal chassis below, but they appear to go through a plastic spacer. Okay, so that's 3 of them out, but I still need to get this one last screw out, which I can't reach. I think if I take out these 4 screws, I think this will lift off. Looks like if I take out these 4 screws, the entire top bracket will lift off, and I won't mess up any alignment. So let's try that. Because I think this is that's a separate attachment. So if I leave the bracket in place and just remove these 4, I'm hoping that this whole assembly will lift off and I can access that screw a little bit easier. Okay, so those 4 are out. Will this lift off? Yes, it does. Excellent. Okay, now I can get to this last screw that's down here. And I can take off this bracket here as well. To access the back of the board and undo the connectors. Okay, just going to undo the solder off of the line cord so that I can remove the board completely. And you guys want to hear the April Fool joke? The April Fool joke was all the people that thought that last video was an April Fool joke. I actually did find that cache in that VCR. It was just a coincidence that it got published close to April 1st. The video was actually supposed to go up on, it was supposed to go live earlier in the day on March the 31st, but due to some technical problems, it didn't get past YouTube's algorithm that was checking for content, matches. It sat there processing for several hours, and that's why it went up kind of late in the afternoon, or late in the evening, but it was supposed to go up a lot earlier than that. I showed it to my wife and she laughed. Okay. Now I should be able to, I'm just trying to open up this connector here to get the wires out. This one is one I gotta lift up. Lift this one up, and then the wires will lift out. And then the wires should just lift out of it. Same with this one. This other one's a plug. This one should just unplug. like that. And this one here just lifts up as well. The two side catches here lift up, or is this a push down? I think it's a lift up. Yeah, this lifts up on both sides, and then the wires will just lift out. Like that, and then this will just lift out like this. It's one of those zero insertion force plugs. The same goes on this other one here. Maybe if I lift the board up, I'll be able to get it a little easier. There we go. It's open. And now I should be able to just lift this board right out and see what went boom on it. Oh, one more plug back here. Okay. If we look at the switch power supply, okay, our power comes in through a fuse and through a filter. Diode bridge. We'll end up with high voltage. I've already checked it. It's like 5 volts. It's discharged across this capacitor here. Our high voltage positive comes in. This is our negative side right here. This is the positive side of the cap. Negative here. Negative goes down and it grounds and goes down. It should go down to the IC here somewhere on one of these pins. I think it's that one. Positive comes down across here and ends up going into pin 3 of the transformer. And then the transformer itself is connected into the IC. The positive also comes down here, goes through a resistor. This is in the startup circuit. There's a couple of resistors here, charges up a capacitor over here. This forms the oscillator. So as soon as power is applied to this terminal, we should have an output over here. And this can be tested out of the unit because this is always running, right? This is always running, producing the standby voltages, and everything is all done from this one power supply. So I guess first things first, we'll check the capacitor over here, this little one over here. These ones here is startup, is what this one's responsible is to start this thing up. It's usually a fairly small, like a 1 microfarad at 200 volts, which is exactly what it is. Typically these do go bad and they cause power supplies to not start, so let's just pull that one out. Now I don't have a 1 microfarad at 200 volts. I don't think. I'll have to go look and see. But this being a high voltage cap, I can't replace it with anything less than what it is. So let's just check it out and see whether this cap has gone high ESR. Chances are it has. We'll check the capacity of it first with the capacitor meter. So we'll put it in capacitor test mode, make sure it's discharged, and then we'll test and see whether it measures anything close to 1 microfarad. Which is not. It's open. Right, meter on there. We'll check the ESR. I bet the ESR is completely open as well. And there's a good chance that this is what's wrong with this power supply. So for the guy that sent me the video or sent me the message a couple weeks ago asking about Pioneer Laserdisc players, asking how to remove the board. Well, now you know how to remove the board. And guy contacts me and he says, "How do I fix this?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't have one to fix." And then wouldn't you know, a couple weeks later, I get one that I need to fix. So this is my cap, and it's open. Good chance that's all that's wrong with this. Now, I got to see if I can find a 1 microfarad, 200 volt little cap. Well, I do have one. Excellent. Let's just take a look at the measurements on a new one. See how a new one looks. ESR wise, these are going to be quite high for capacitors because the voltage is high. So the ESR is actually quite high compared to what you would expect to see, 7.3 ohms. But then again, 1 microfarad at 250 volts, anything less than 20 is considered to be good. So 7 ohms is fine. If we look at this one on the regular capacitor meter, we will see that this one here will measure 1 microfarad. There's a good chance that this is all that's wrong with this power supply, and that this cap would be used as a startup, so when you apply power it gives it a pulse. So there's a good chance that this is really all that's wrong with this one, hopefully. And then I will have gained myself yet another, as if I need another Laserdisc player. Well, I guess you can never have too many Laserdisc players when you've got a bunch of movies, and I had a bunch of movies given to me. So there's no such thing as having too many Laserdisc players if you've got movies and stuff, even though I don't play them. I could. But, you know, if your player breaks down, that's going to be the downfall to all the people that have got old media. You know, I don't think people with DVD players are going to have to worry anytime soon, because DVD players and Blu-ray players are going to be around for years and years and years. But the obsolete systems, such as the Laserdisc player, for example, well, these won't be around for years and years and years because they haven't made them for 30 odd years. So when you can't just go buy a new Laserdisc player, they don't make them. You can go and buy a new DVD player and a new Blu-ray player. They're dirt cheap, but you can pick them up. They're a dime a dozen. That's what I'm getting at. You don't have to worry about your DVD discs not playing, because there's lots of players available and they still make them, and they will continue to make them probably for several more years. As long as people continue to buy Blu-ray players, they will continue to make them. The same as, it's hard to find a standalone CD player now, but it's not hard to find a DVD player or a Blu-ray player. And of course, since they all play CDs, I'm just resoldering this chip, by the way, while I've got it out here. Since they all play CDs, people with DVDs need not worry. The same as archiving your home video onto to DVD. When I'm doing archiving, I always advise people, you know, for the extra couple bucks for the cost of the disc, just do it. Do it. Get a copy on DVD. Even if you're never going to play it, even if the only thing you're going to play is that USB stick copy, get a hard copy on DVD and put it away. Because had my customer of a couple weeks ago, well, they weren't a customer a couple weeks ago, a customer of 5 years ago that called me a couple weeks ago because the only copy that she had on a USB stick failed. And she had gotten a copy on DVD but threw it away. You know, for whatever reason, downsizing, cleaning up, didn't think they were ever going to need to play them. Oh, we don't need these discs, and tossed them in the garbage. I wonder what other irreplaceable content she's tossed away. But that happens, so. But at least if you've got media, if you've got stuff on DVD, you can still buy a drive to play it. You can still buy computer drives if you want to rip it. You can still buy USB drives that plug into your computer that play DVDs and Blu-ray and CDs and stuff. And you can still get standalone DVD players and CD players. So that's not an issue. But this is. Laserdisc, forget it. You're not getting them. So let me grab my cheater cord, wherever I did with it from yesterday. We'll power this thing up. Make sure my power is off. We'll power this thing up and see whether I get voltage on the diodes. Okay, so I'm expecting that I'm going to see power over here on one of these diodes. I have DC. When I power this up, then we're good to go. I'm just going to grab a couple of jumpers just to connect it so I don't have to hang on to anything. We'll connect one to a ground point over here. I think these jumpers are probably okay. Just make sure first that I'm not grabbing a jumper that's broken, because I've certainly got some that are broken. Like this one, for example. Yeah, that jumper, that's a good one. Cheap Chinese jumpers. We'll just throw that one away or repair it another day. Let me grab another one. Make sure that... That's always the kicker, right? When you go to test something, you're using a test jumper, and you don't check your jumper up first, and it turns out that your jumper is no bloody good, and you're chasing now a problem that doesn't exist. Okay, there's our power supply, right? Our power supply is working. That's a negative supply, obviously, and this one here is probably a positive. That's a positive supply, you see? 5-volt supply. So we know that the power supply is now going to work. So I'm just going to let the capacitor discharge here for a bit, and then we will reassemble, and my Laserdisc player, my free Laserdisc player, should start working. I'm getting excited. Can't you tell from the sound of my voice? I'm just as excited as finding all that money yesterday. I was telling my wife, I said, hey, look at this, what I found. And well, she couldn't believe it at first until I showed it to her and started showing her the cash. And she thought it was a joke. She thought it was fake money at first. She says, what did you do, print that yourself? I said, no. I said, look at it. It's real. It's real currency. Look at the paper it's on, right? So then it was like, holy crap, where did you find that? I told her it was stuck down the inside of a VCR. But now she's already figured out how to spend it for me, I'm sure. First, I'll reconnect the power connector that goes in the back side of it here. Okay, that one's in place. Now I need to fish this thing in and get the plugs reinserted. That's probably going to be the hardest part, trying to reinsert these plugs without bending anything. Okay, that goes in like that. This plug plugs into this plug. I guess I can put a couple screws in here first just to hold it in place. Nice copper-plated screws. They're steel, obviously, because they're magnetic. Next, I've got this power cable over here. I got to straighten out one of the pins that bent over a bit, this wire. And this is a zero insertion force, so as long as the little tabs here up on either side, it'll just drop right in without complaining too much. Just got to make sure that the wires are lined up with the holes, and it'll just drop right in like that. And you push down the edges on the clamp. Same goes for this other one. Make sure that the connector's up, and I just have to get this lined up, and as this one kind of has to go in behind underneath this rail. Like that, and then it drops into this one. I think that's in. I think that's all the way in. Okay, now we'll reconnect the main power. We'll put the clamp back. Oh, this little cover's got to go back on here, wherever the hell this thing came from. That goes on like that. So we'll put that little cover back in place. It's obviously a shield of some type. And I'll reconnect the power wires. I'm not plugged in now, obviously. I'll reconnect the power wires. We'll put this transport assembly back together, and fingers crossed this is going to work. reconnect the AC power inlet. I think I put the wrong screw in somewhere. That screw is probably supposed to go down to the shield, but it doesn't matter, they're all the same. Anyway, what else do I need to do on this before I test it? Oh yeah, turn it around, I guess. Turn it around so that the tray can move, and see if it'll load the disc tray in when I turn it on. Plug it in and turn it on. So power cord. This might need a belt too. Some of these needed belts. Power on. Power. Where's power? Ha 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 ha! That part works. I just gotta see if this thing needs a belt. Some of these needed belts. They stuck. Open sesame. Oh no, I guess the belt's okay. Yeah, it's got lots of torque. Okay, great, excellent. Let me just put this front cover back on. It just kind of just to try that disc that I just found in here. We'll play that disc. I won't be able to play the music. I might be able to get away with playing some of the visuals for a bit. I don't know how they'll enforce. They might take the video down. I know for sure if I let the music play, absolutely they would take the video down, because the record companies, right? But I don't know how they'll protect the content. It's just scenery. So I might be able to get away with playing some scenery. Got to figure out how this part goes on. This is the door that opens the door up. It should just snap on like that. I think it just goes on like that. We'll find out pretty quick, I guess. I'll put one screw in here to hold it together and see if it will open the door when I hit the button. Okay, let's see if it'll open this door up, because this door is latched. Yes, okay. There, that's a little better. Sounds like it's trying to do something. And this one will also play those CD videos like the other one. The little gold colored ones. This will play those. Okay, let's hook it up to the TV and try it out. So this is the disc. Open. Okay, how do I play this thing? Play. It's gonna play. It's gonna play. I can just see it now. Get my light out of the way so you guys can see the TV screen. This is that cool laser. Make sure that my sound is not, well, I'll probably let that part play for a second. I can actually, I'm sure I can skip through this. And of course it's a CLV disc, so it doesn't, it won't display freeze frames or anything when you're in pause. I'll go grab that CAV disc because this player might display, I know the Panasonic doesn't, but this one here, this one might display CAV without the remote control. All scenery set to the music. It's actually kind of neat. It's like one of those videos you'd see on the Zen channel. I don't even think that channel's around anymore, is it? But anyway, it's scenery. This is the type of stuff that I actually go out and shoot. I go out and shoot scenery and put it to music. Nice effect from the tube camera. Some time lapsing. I'll kill the sound here so I don't have to. I think if I mute the sound, I can probably get away with letting this thing play a bit. What's going on with my remote control here? My remote control does not appear to be working. Yep. New batteries can control the volume. That's a good indicator. If you're using one of these universal remotes, this just happens to be an old one, that a really old one that TELUS used to send out. Like this remote was started out in silver, and then I went to a black one, which I've got some of those, and then I went to the Slimline 1, and now they're on the Slimline 2. So this is like the first generation, but I like it because the problem with these ones is the rubber buttons would wear out on them. But I like this remote because it can control 4 different devices, and everything's independent. It'll do everything. So turn the volume down. I can probably get away with showing you some of the neat visuals on here. You know, shot with a tube camera. You know, you get the lag. That's almost artistic, the way they shot that. This was shot on a Betacam. It was shot by Sony. Sony PCL did the visuals for this. According to at the end, the credits. I read the credits. I've already watched this through, but they've got some pretty neat visual effects on here that they did. Like they were changing the top and the bottom of the screen. They've got 2 images merged together. I think it's the shot. And it's all set to the music. Maybe it's not yet. Here we go. Here we go. So it's set to the music, and all of a sudden the bottom half is going to get replaced with a different scene. Right, so they're just on a split screen there. got the swan with the mountains in the background, and then the top piece, the top half of the picture will now be replaced. So they just did a split screen wipe, but I thought they did a pretty good job of putting this together. Anyway, this unit is working. And basically on this video album, every song on the DVD, or sorry, every song on the CD had a separate video to go with it. So each one had visuals that were trying to capture, I guess, the emotion of the music. But they did a pretty good job, I think. Snow scenery. That's kind of a neat effect. It's water under ice. And then ice melting. And they did time lapse of ice melting and time lapse of water freezing. Yeah, it's not bad. They got some really good close-ups of the moon with a big lens. I have some scenery shot. Too bad this wasn't in HD, because in HD this would be spectacular. But that's wishful thinking. This was done long before there was HD. But they've got some really nice visuals of Japan. I'm assuming that's where this is. Really good close-ups of the moon. You can actually see the air, the atmosphere is distorting the view. This looks like a CCD camera that they used for this. You see the vertical banding? That looks like a CCD camera they used for that shot.
The good old charge coupled device vertical smear issue had lots of complaints when I was shooting weddings, and candles had this vertical band that went all the way to the top and bottom of the screen. People would complain
Always
about
fun
it.
filming snow. Point the camera straight up and shine a light up into the sky and film snow coming down at you. I've done that. Anyway, yeah, it's looks good. I mean, I say there's some pretty good photography done on this disc. So a double score. I got a nice Laserdisc player and a disc, and this is an auto reverse. So if I hit the disc side B, this is only a single-sided disc, but watch what it does. The disc reverses direction. The laser pickup comes up onto this side. And it just says program material is only recorded on the other side of this disc. If I push pause, oh, it doesn't. I guess you need the remote control, because I think this is a CAV. But then again, lots of these discs, or lots of these players, you would only get the special effects like slow motion and freeze frame and stuff using the remote. And I didn't get the remote for it, but my universal remote will certainly control it. Hit the eject button. It spins the laser around again, and then we'll eject the disc. So that's it. This one's done. I'm happy. My wife might not be so happy with picking up another piece of junk, as she would call it. But as I said before, one cannot have too many Laserdisc players, especially if you've got a collection of movies like I do. that were given to me years ago. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.